The deadly wildfires that ravaged communities and wineries in Northern California also severely damaged numerous marijuana farms, just before the state is expected to fully legalize the drug, in a disaster that could have far-reaching implications for a nascent industry. At least 34 marijuana farms suffered extensive damage as the wildfires tore across wine country and some of California's prime marijuana-growing areas. The fires could present challenges to the scheduled January 1st rollout of legal marijuana sales at the start of an industry that is expected to generate billions of dollars in revenue. In many cases, owners have spent tens of thousands of dollars to become compliant with state law to sell the product. But because the federal government considers marijuana cultivation and sales a criminal enterprise, it remains extremely difficult, if not impossible, for most of the marijuana businesses affected by the fire to access insurance, mortgages and loans to rebuild. Even a charitable fund set up to help marijuana farmers was frozen because a payment processor will not handle cannabis transactions. Cannabis businesses also are not eligible for any type of federal disaster relief, according to a spokesman for the Federal Emergency Management Agency. It's the darkness right before the dawn of legal, regulated cannabis in California, said Hezekiah Allen, executive director of the California Growers Association, who cautioned that the full extent of the damage remains unknown. These businesses are in a really vulnerable position, and this really came at about the worst time it could have. It means we're on our own. The fires burned swaths of Mendocino County, which is part of what is known as California's Emerald Triangle, the nation's epicenter of marijuana growing. It also devastated Sonoma County, which is best known for wine but has seen an increase in cannabis farming. The fires killed at least 42 people and damaged thousands of buildings, according to the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. Some marijuana farms were completely destroyed, and many others are believed to have been heavily damaged by fire, smoke and ash. Structures used to store dried marijuana burned, as did greenhouses and irrigation lines. Many marijuana cultivators live on their farms, and some homes burned to the ground. "We are going to stay." Northern California residents vow to stay put even as wildfires worsen housing crunch. Eric Pearson, co-owner of Spark, a large medical cannabis dispensary with 2 locations in San Francisco and others north of the city, saw his crops in Glen Ellen, California, about 50 miles north of San Francisco, engulfed by flames after awakening to the smell of smoke. The first thing he saw after getting close to the farm was a metal-roofed barn on fire. It was filled with marijuana harvested to sell on the legal market. "We lost everything we harvested to date, and had significant damage to what's left," he said. "There is concern that what has been destroyed, as well as the damage from smoke, ash and lack of water for crops that did survive, could seriously impact the supply for customers when marijuana is legal for sale." The fire has compounded existing problems with the initial start of sales because of a regulatory mess. Many municipalities and the state have not released draft regulations for how businesses must comply with the new law. Businesses in some places, including San Francisco, are not likely to be able to open January 1st. Now, we might be facing a much smaller harvest than we were anticipating, which could potentially drive the price up, said Josh Drayton, deputy director of the California Cannabis Industry Association. "It's going to touch every different piece of the industry, and we can't get ahead of this yet. We still don't know how much has survived, how much has been lost." Chia Rodriguez, chief executive of Mendocino Generations, a marijuana collective in Mendocino County, said that most of the 40 farms she works with were only about 25 to 50% harvested when the fires broke out earlier this month. About a quarter of the farms were affected by either fire or smoke, she said, and just 10 of the 40 have the local permit necessary to become compliant with the state, though all are working toward them. None of them have crop insurance, she said. Rodriguez said that the fires could lead to less usable marijuana on the market come January. The one saving grace might be to repurpose affected plants and use them for oil and other tinctures that can be sold at dispensaries. The oils are far less lucrative than the flowers, the part of the plant that is consumed, and this year was expected to be a bumper crop. You're looking at the difference between $800 to $1,500 a pound to now getting $100. It's a huge blow, she said, especially when farmers have spent so much money trying to become compliant with laws. These people put everything they had into paying